Oh man, do I have a special one for you today. Well, you guys asked, so here it is. A 9-part story. With every single update I could possibly find, it's about a mother-in-law who might just be the craziest mother-in-law we've ever had on the channel. The title is Mother-in-Law in the Wild, The Wedding Cake Saga. Here we go, guys. I work part-time in a bakery. We have 3 employers who specialize in wedding cake design. Part of my job is to meet with customers, show them our list of flavors and photos of previously made wedding cakes, and get a feel for which design would be best fitting their need. There was a couple of schedules to be sent at 9:30 this morning. Imagine my surprise when they show up at 8:15, with an older woman in tow. It's a little annoying because we were slammed with the morning rush, but my boss told me to take care of them instead. So I go over, introduce myself to the couple, give congratulations, do my normal song and dance. We have X flowers, these are our most popular choices. These are some of the cakes we've done, etc., etc. The daughter-in-law takes the book and holds it in her lap, so only she and her future husband can see it. The older woman sighs and goes outside to smoke. The couple is lovely and have flagged 4 designs they like within 15 minutes. Older woman comes back in and asks what she's missed. Future husband shows her the designs they like and she automatically starts to complain. No, that's too detailed. No, that's too plain. That's not big enough. That's too big. Yada yada yada. It was like listening to an old cranky version of Goldilocks. I side-eyed the crap out of this older woman and asked the daughter-in-law how many guests they're having. She answers and the older woman intervenes again and gives a number that's twice what daughter-in-law said. Daughter-in-law reiterates the original number and tells mother-in-law that they are having a small wedding. Well, mother-in-law whines and says she's already invited people and can't uninvite them now because it would simply be rude. Daughter-in-law shrugs. Mother-in-law turns to me again and tells me the larger number. I say, sorry, bride has the final say. Well, why didn't I even bother coming if no one will listen? Daughter-in-law says, I don't know why you insisted on coming. Oh, my son's getting married. It's my right to be here. He's marrying me, says daughter-in-law. You can come along for a planning, but I don't need your input. If I want it, I'll ask. Mother-in-law opens her mouth and says, ugh, I need a cigarette. Mother-in-law goes outside to smoke. I'm staring at the daughter-in-law, just wondering, because of, oh my gosh, the spine. Daughter-in-law turns to the spineless wonder that's her future husband, who's been silently staring at the floor like he wants to become one with it, and glares at him. I told you this was going to happen, daughter-in-law says. What am I supposed to do? Control your mother or I will. Future husband sighs and goes after his mother, and he looks like he's just heading straight to a firing squad. Daughter-in-law turns to me, apologizes for the scene, and asks me about setting up a tasting and meeting with the designer. I scheduled the appointments and let her know we can set a password, so no unauthorized changes can be made to the date or cake. She takes me up on the offer, tells me to make a note to not share the password with her future husband, and leaves. I'm torn between awe and her spine and sympathy that she felt the need to use the password and hide it from her future husband. What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Just so you know, there is absolutely multiple insane updates about to come your way. I'm telling every single thing that was released from OP. So strap your seatbelts in, grab your favorite box of candy, and let's hop into update number 1. Okay, well, looks like this situation's not over yet. Here's the background. The mother-in-law had a very thick and identifiable accent. It's not one I hear very often in my area. Future husband and daughter-in-law do not have accents. This is important. I was cleaning my station when the phone rang. My coworker answered and said the call was about a wedding cake. I was desperate to go home, but I had to deal with it since I was the only one there today who worked with any wedding cakes this week. Hello, this is Bakery. Mouse speaking. How can I help you? Oh, yes, hello. I was there this weekend with my husband and mother-in-law to look at the wedding cakes and make my appointments. I have a few things I want to change. Wait a second, I recognize that accent. No way. No ducking way. Me externally saying, Sure thing, I just need your name and information. Oh, my name is, and I need to change the servings for the cake. I need double the original number, and I can't remember when my appointment is for the design team, so I'm going to need that too. Oh, not a problem. I just need your passcode to change the cake size and release any information. Passcode? Yes, ma'am. Oh, I forgot it. Just tell me. Oh, I'm very sorry, ma'am, but I can't do that. We value our clients' privacy, and we're open from these hours and these days. If you would like to come in and update your cake or password, you can come on in anytime. You just need to bring your ID. Ma'am? Never mind. This was very unhelpful. Goodbye. I apologized again. Have a nice night. I left a note on daughter-in-law's appointment file about the call and flagged it to make sure to check the passcode and ID. I left a note to my manager about the call as well. I have a feeling mother-in-law's going to explode at her son and daughter-in-law. Edit. I would love to inform the daughter-in-law about the phone call. If it were up to me, I would have called her right then and there. However, I have to ask my manager first because, well, I don't want to get fired. Okay, guys. That was update number 1. Update number 2 is just one day later. If you're not subscribed to the channel, take a second to click that subscribe button and just know, Mr. Reddito has 3 channels, and every single channel we have daily videos. The newest channel being Mr. Reddito Office Dramas, and you can find all the links in the description below. Let's hop into your update number 2. Alright, protocol for this kind of situation is to call the client within 24 hours to follow up on any change requests that were unable to be fulfilled. My manager left this task up to me since I was the one who initially assisted with the appointment. I call the daughter-in-law, leave a vague message. Daughter-in-law calls back within an hour, asks to speak to me. Hello, this is Bakery, Mouse speaking, how can I help you? Daughter-in-law says, Oh, hi. I got a message saying to call back. Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm just calling to follow up on your request yesterday for the cake changes. I'm very sorry I was unable to help you. I understand you forgot your passcode and would like to know if you want to come in and change it. You just need to bring an ID with you. What changes? What are you talking about? I never called you. Oh. Well, I received a call yesterday at this time requesting the date for your next appointment and a change in cake size. I never called you. I have my passcode. Here it is. Was anything changed? Oh, no, ma'am. But that is correct passcode. What would you like to change? No. Are you sure someone called about the cake? Nothing was changed? Yes, ma'am. The woman gave your information, but not your passcode. I assure you, no detail was changed or released, and nothing will be without the express permission and passcode. I think I know what happened. Can you make sure that your bakery knows I'll not be making any changes over the phone? And I want my passcode to stay the same. Anything I do will be in person from now on. Oh, okay, no problem. I'll flag your account now. Is there anything else I can do for you? No, thank you. Thanks for letting me know. Have a good night. Well, I told my manager what was said, and she's keeping an eye on this account and has flagged it as important. She also sent out a memo about the passcode to be safe. She lives for drama, so I think she's half hoping that mother-in-law comes in to try something. Update number 3, 3 days later. So, we're short-staffed. 2 bakers call out on short notice and we're slammed with giant orders. Because of this, I've been working strictly in the back, and I've not answered the phone because we're so deep in the weeds. The only employees in the store are the bakers, 3 counter girls and me. My manager's not due until mid-afternoon. I'm running back and forth between the back and the front just long enough to drop off pastries, when I hear a family accent speaking loudly. My butthole puckers, because duck, this is not the day for this. The oven's beeping, so I have no time to eavesdrop. I go about my business, and an elbow deep in sugar when the counter girl, CG, calls for me. She sounds close to tears, and it's worth mentioning that counter girl is only 16 years old. She tells me what's going on. Mother-in-law came in, asked to change a previous order she placed for a wedding cake. Counter girl says okay, tries to help and notices the flag, so she asks mother-in-law for ID. Mother-in-law says she forgot it and tells counter girl to change it anyways. Counter girl says she can't. Mother-in-law starts to get loud and demands to speak to a manager. Counter girl explains our manager won't be in until afternoon time. Well, this isn't acceptable to mother-in-law, who proceeds to turn over to the customers and complain about how, quote, useless teenagers are, and how unprofessional and accommodating our bakery is. Counter girl asks mother-in-law to not bother the other customers, offers her a free coffee and pastry as an apology. Mother-in-law responds by calling counter girl a stupid brat. Well, this is when counter girl excused herself and came to me. Well, guys, I'm mad because we're too busy for this, and people who are rude to employees deserve a special place in hell. You don't talk to any employees like that, let alone a freaking kid. So I tell counter girl to take a breath, call her manager, and go on break while I handle this mother-in-law. Side note, I suck at confrontation, but I'm very good at being professional even when upset. So here's how the conversation went down. Oh, hello again. My name's Mouse. I understand you're having problems with your order. How can I help you? Mother-in-law complains that she needs to show ID, complaining about the, quote, unhelpful phone girl, complains about, quote, disrespectful brats, and finally gets around to telling me that she wants to change her wedding cake. Ma'am, I apologize for the inconvenience, but there's no need to speak about our teenage employee like that. Let me see what I can do. I say this louder than normal, but not by much, just enough for people standing nearby to overhear. Mother-in-law grunts and tells me to, quote, just fix it. So I say loudly, oh, ma'am, I see the problem. Your order's been flagged and I can't make any changes without proper ID or a passcode. If you can provide me with either of those, I'll assist you. At this point, mother-in-law starts yelling. She says this, I don't have an ID. I forgot my passcode. You're being very unhelpful. Okay, ma'am. Well, there's no need to yell. I understand your frustrations, but since you made the passcode, I'm sure you understand the necessity of it. If you show me your ID, I can help you change your passcode. We value our clients' privacy and would hate to have any changes made to your wedding cake without your approval. Mother-in-law looks very angry and uncomfortable and says she'll be back later. I tell my manager she'd be in at this time. I watch her go to her car and make some phone calls. Counter girl comes in from her break and I told her to get me if mother-in-law enters the store again. So far, mother-in-law has not come back and her car's no longer there. My lunch break's almost over and my manager should be in soon, so I'll update if anything new occurs. Well, update number 4, 1 day later. Alright, I've gotten a lot of comments and PMs commenting on why I played along with the mother-in-law instead of calling her out. There's a few reasons why I didn't. Number 1, there's a protocol we have to follow with these situations. This is the first time I've personally had to deal with this, but it's apparently not the first time someone tried to change an order that wasn't theirs. Following protocol protects my employment and, well, I like my job. Number 2, calling her out might have made it so she would just try to find someone who was unfamiliar with her. She'd already been rude to a teenager and I did not want to subject anyone else to that. I'd rather give her enough rope to go and jump with. Number 3, I was also concerned she was going to cause a scene. It may just be a small bakery and job, but I take pride in it, and I refuse to allow an entitled bagel ruin my other customers' experience now. On to the update. My manager came in shortly after my lunch break. She told me to give the daughter-in-law a call, and mother-in-law came in shortly after. and my manager took her into her office. I called daughter-in-law and explained what happened. She directly asked me if I recognized the woman, and I answered honestly. She asked what time my manager and I were off and said she was coming in. Mother-in-law still in the office with the manager when daughter-in-law comes along with the future husband. Future husband looks furious. Daughter-in-law looks close to tears. So I leave them with hot chocolate and donuts while I go let my manager know that they're here. She asked me to bring them back along with the counter girl. Counter girl walks into the office, followed by me, daughter-in-law, and future husband. Mother-in-law looks absolutely smug until future husband walks in, and she turns pale ghost white. Future husband, "Oh, Mom, what are you doing here?" Mother-in-law starts answering in a different language. "Mom, no, speak English. Daughter-in-law doesn't speak that language and you know it. You're being rude. What are you doing here?" I was just asking about the cake, and these girls were so unhelpful. You should find another bakery. This place is no good. Actually, Mouse and Counter Girl were following the rules. We explained to you that no changes can be made without a passcode, or ID, and you refused to provide either. Daughter-in-law says, "I knew you tried to change the cake. We told you over and over that we want a small wedding." You want a small wedding. Future husband wants a big celebration. No I don't, Ma. We agreed on a small wedding because we both want a small wedding. Don't talk to me like that. I deserve respect. I'm sorry, but this is not the place for this. Daughter-in-law, future husband, this is the information you gave for cake size and design. Is this correct? Yes. Alright, very good. Daughter-in-law, your name is on the deposit, so I want to reassure you again. No changes will be made without your ID. I'm sorry to say that I'm no longer comfortable using the passcode you gave. Mother-in-law starts muttering in a different language, and future husband tells her to stop. Mother-in-law gets teary-eyed. I understand. Thank you so much, and I'm sorry for the trouble. Oh, it's no trouble at all. I also have to insist that mother-in-law is no longer accompanying you to any future appointments. Due to her treatment of my employees, she's no longer welcome on the premises. Mother-in-law starts to sniffle. Oh, that's no problem, Ma. Stop it. You raised me better, so I know you know better. Mother-in-law again starts talking in a different language. Future husband tells her in English that she's owing us an apology. She snaps something back in her language, gathers her purse, and leaves without another word. Daughter-in-law still looks close to tears at this point, and future husband hugs her. I hear him apologize for doubting her. My manager asked if they need a moment, and they say no. They apologize again for mother-in-law and counter girl, and I are told to go back to work. End result. The couple seemed okay when they left, and the owner approved a 5% discount on their cake for their suffering. Mother-in-law's banned. If she shows up, we're asked to tell her to leave and call my manager if she's there, or the police if she's not. Update number 5 just a few days later. I work at the bakery every weekend during the day, but my shifts switch throughout the week, depending on my schedule at my other jobs and what needs to be done. Sometimes I work the front helping customers. Sometimes I strictly handle the appointments for bride and special events, and sometimes I just bake. We've been a little short-staffed lately, so I've been working from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m., cleaning, doing prep work, organizing, baking, etc. When I work late, I keep the front lights off and the doors locked. I've even started parking on a well-lit street for safety reasons. And since our kitchen is off to the left, you can't see the lights unless you're right up against the front door. This is very important. Basically, the bakery looks deserted. It's usually really quiet when I work these hours, about 6-ish, when people start lining up for the breakfast rush. So when the phone rang at 4, I ignored it. My manager and coworkers have my number, and we usually communicate via text. My job is to prep for the morning, and we have an awesome answering machine. Well, the phone rings again at about 4:05, then 4:10, then 4:15, then 4:20. I'm elbow deep in dough and getting annoyed at the interruptions, and the calls just keep coming 5 minutes apart. At 5 a.m., I snap and answer. Good morning, this is the bakery. Mouse speaking, how can I help you? Finally, says mother-in-law. I've been calling for over an hour. Why don't you answer? Never mind, I need to speak to someone in charge immediately. Alright, so at this point, my internal monologue is like this. Ugh, that freaking accent. Okay, don't jump to conclusions. It might be someone else with the same accent. Then I tell her, I apologize, ma'am, but we're closed at the moment. No, you're not. Don't lie. You're not closed. I'm very sorry, ma'am, but we are. Our hours are X to Y. Someone will be available to help you then. No, that's not good enough. The people who work then are bad people, unprofessional and bad. You help me. I need information on daughter-in-law's name cake. Oh my goodness, says my head. Ma'am, we're closed. I cannot help you with anything right now. Our hours are X to Y. If you would like to call back, then call back then. No, I need help now, you lie. I know you're open now. Open that door. I can see the lights on. Now, I'm going through some stuff right now that has me genuinely terrified about 80% of the time. I'm an anxious mess 95% of the other time. The only way this woman could see the kitchen light is if she's at our front door with her face against the glass, so I overreact. I freaked the duck out, hang up on her, and proceed to have a panic attack out over the sourdough. The phone rings 2 more times, mid-panic, before going blissfully silent. I texted a warning to my manager and my coworker, who's due to come in and help me open. My coworker texts me back a few emojis and a WTF, and my manager calls to tell me that she's on her way and she wants me to stay inside. Well, my manager got there about 15 minutes later, and there was no sign of anyone on the property but me. There was about 20 or so cigarette butts right outside the door though, and I had swept the sidewalk entrance before I went inside, so we think mother-in-law was camping out for a good while. My manager decides right then that we're no longer allowed to open or prep alone, and there have to be at least 2 people in shift at all times. She also left a message for the owner and daughter-in-law about what happened, but my shift ended before either of them called back, so I don't know if anything came of the calls. Update number 6, 2 days later. After crazy mother-in-law decided to scare the crap out of me by lurking creepily in the shadows while the bakery was closed, the owner had enough. Apparently, she called the couple explaining what happened and told them that she was going to call the police the next time mother-in-law showed up. She said she would understand if they switched bakeries and she would refund their deposit with no problem, but she would not allow her employees to be harassed or scared. Daughter-in-law apologized for mother-in-law's actions and assured her there would be a, quote, conversation about her behavior. And just did not want to switch bakeries because both she and future husband were, quote, impressed with the professionalism and safety given to the cake. They also supported the owner's decision to call the police. Apparently, future husband seemed to waver a bit on this point, but he got on board when the owner offered again to refund their deposit. So, that's the end of it, right? The happy couple talked to the mother-in-law, she understood where she went wrong, and all that was right in the world. Ha! Yeah, right. Duck no. This is not happening. Since the mother-in-law learned that just showing up isn't going to get her anywhere, and she was told the police will be called if she comes back, she's taken to calling randomly. Our new line when she calls to make changes is, I'm sorry, we no longer make changes on cakes on this magnitude over the phone. Please come in during normal hours so we can assist you. It doesn't stop her from repeatedly calling, though. The conversation is always the same. We answer, she gives us the daughter-in-law's name and asks when her next appointment is, or tells us to make changes. We tell her we can't give out that information and give her the aforementioned line, and she asks to speak to someone in charge, of course. So we put her on hold until she hangs up and calls back a little while later to try again. All this over a ducking cake. I still write the update on tasting and design appointment when I have a bit more time. Oh yeah, I did get permission from my manager to talk to the daughter-in-law about this sub. I wrote this information on a card like Mad Pirate Bippy suggested, and handed it to her with an explanation of what it was. I offered to delete the post if she found it upsetting or invasive that I wrote about her, but she said she was tickled pink about it, and thought it was funny. She said she's mostly on Tumblr and Pinterest, but she might check it out. Well, hello if you're watching. Update number 7, 2 days after. Daughter-in-law and future husband have their tasting and design appointment over the weekend. Mother-in-law called in the middle of it, and future husband let her handle it. Daughter-in-law started to angry cry, and I tried to comfort her. This is when I told her of this existence of this thread, and she was really amused at the fact that I wrote about her, because her monster-in-laws is so awful. She said none of her friends believed anyone could be this insane. I gave her the link to this and said we're her people, and we believe her. She said she mostly uses Tumblr and Pinterest, but she might post her browse, and gave me permission to not only continue writing, but to give more details. The happy couple is having an Alice in Wonderland Tea Party theme wedding. They're having the ceremony and the wedding reception at a small park. Mother-in-law is desperate to have the ceremony at her church, and has put a deposit on hall for the reception. She's pushing for a religious ceremony and has invited members of her family and church that the couple don't know. The cake the couple settled on is one of our colorful and less traditional ones. They're having us decorate it with scenes from Alice in Wonderland, and we're using the Mad Hatter and Queen of Hearts as cake toppers. I saw the toppers and man, they're so cute. Their guest list is only 40 people, so they ordered a cake that serves 50. Mother-in-law keeps trying to change the cake to a 3-tier cake classic design, since she doesn't actually know that they finished the cake will look like. She keeps calling and saying she wants us to, quote, forget what was said and do what she's saying. She wants it all classic white with edible beading, and the cake has to serve 200 minimum. Well, this is not a typo. The couple has a guest list of 40. The mother-in-law has added a full 160 extra people. While I was trying to comfort her, daughter-in-law informed me that her mother-in-law has gone crazy since they got engaged. She was always, quote, traditional and stuffy, but went nuts after the engagement. She keeps leaving messages and showing up at their house uninvited. Future husband's waffling a lot because he feels, quote, stuck between two important women. And apparently, he tried to get daughter-in-law to let his mother plan more of the wedding because his, quote, mom could not afford to have the wedding she wanted. I gently reminded her that this was her wedding, not her mother-in-law's, and she laughed. She apparently told future husband he could marry his own mother if he was so keen on giving his mother the wedding of her dreams instead of his future wife. She said she's getting really frustrated at the both of them. The designer who's doing the cake actually laughed at this and said his boyfriend was a mama's boy, but reformed, so he sympathizes. I told her I also had a terrible future mother-in-law. Daughter-in-law said future husband is getting better at saying no, and she really appreciates how much we are protecting the cake. Future husband came back looking angry, and the jerk session ended. We went back to the details and flavors. At the end of the appointment, the daughter-in-law hugged us both. I quietly reassured her that the cake would be safe before they left. Daughter-in-law and I exchanged numbers and have texted a bit. Future husband is apparently developing a baby spine, and mother-in-law's not happy. A little bonus information before update 8. Mother-in-law's doing the phone version of, quote, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. She knows she's banned and hasn't stopped calling. Now, in addition to trying to change the cake and find out appointment details, she's trying to add 8 loaves of sourdough to the order. Yeah, 8 loaves. What the duck, lady? Quick edit. Mother-in-law has been uninvited from the wedding. Daughter-in-law told future husband that if mother-in-law's coming to the wedding, she won't be. He agreed. Daughter-in-law's now hiring security to check ID, and 2 of them are going to accompany the cake when it's being delivered. She paid for this herself and told the security that only she, not future husband, can change the approval list. Okay guys, Mr. Reddito here. Things are getting super heated up. Update 8 is about to happen right now, and let me just tell you, this update is insane. If you haven't subscribed to the channels, check the description below for all the links to the channels. And here's your update 4 days later. My week has sucked. I got fired from one of my jobs and had a breakdown. My neighbor has taken to frying fish in the hallway for some unknown reason, and the smell invades my apartment. I'm broke, stressed, and sleep deprived. I ran out of Nutella, and I'm PMSing. Basically, I'm at my limit. So, when crazy cake-obsessed mother-in-law decided to act like a corn-studded turd, I ran out of patience. At about 5 this morning, mother-in-law called. My coworker was busy, so I answered and went through the same conversation we've been going through all ducking week. She hangs up. Around 8:30, she tries again, so I answered. Then at around 10, we have the following conversation. Good morning, this is Bakery, Mouse speaking. How can I... Oh, you again? Why, you always answering the phone? I don't know, I work here. Side note, I'm very tired and this confused me. I'm actually questioning if I was at the right job for a brief second. I want to speak to someone else. Give me someone in charge. Sorry, my manager isn't here, but I can have her call if... Shut up! Duck you two, lady. A little while later, I'm helping a customer when I notice my teenage coworker getting upset on the phone. She's 16 years old and new to counter work. This is her first job, so she hasn't had her soul sucked out through retail work yet. I figured she's dealing with an irritable customer and gestured to let her know I can take the call. She shakes her head at me and hangs up. More time passes, I overhear my teenage coworker getting upset on the phone again, so I pause and eavesdrop. She keeps repeating that she's sorry, but there's nothing she can do, over and over again. A few seconds later, I can hear yelling through the phone, even though I'm several feet away. There are customers in the store and our coffee machine's going off. Teenage coworker seems close to tears, so I grab the phone from her and listen. Who do you think it is? It's crazy Karen, mother-in-law, of course. Freaking girls are so unprofessional and helpful. You young people are awful. You're all too busy on spreading your legs for your boyfriends on the computers to understand how to give good customer service. Now, are you going to ducking help me, or do I have to take my business elsewhere? OMG, ma'am. I think it would be best if you did take your business elsewhere. What did you say to me? Who is this? What happened to the other girl? I said, I think it's best you take your business elsewhere. My name's Mouse. I'm the person you'll be dealing with from now on, unless you would prefer to speak to my manager. You don't want my business? No, I don't. Not particularly. What? I want to speak to the other girl. You're a nasty, nasty woman. This is not how you treat people. I usually pride myself on patience, but I snap and step out of my boundaries. Ma'am, I heard the way you were speaking to her, and you should be ashamed of yourself. She's 16 years old, and since you seem incapable of being polite, it's best that you deal with an adult. From now on, your only interactions will be with the manager or me. She tries to argue, but I cut her off. You've always been told repeatedly, changes cannot be made over the phone. We do not make changes to the wedding cake over the phone, specifically to avoid what you're trying to do. If you have concerns about the cake, I suggest you discuss it with your son and future daughter-in-law, since it's their cake, not yours. You are not the customer. You are not allowed to make changes to their order. It will never happen. Now, is there anything else unrelated to your son's wedding I can help you with? She hung up, and I called my manager right away and explained what happened. I was expecting to get in some sort of trouble, but she was fine with it. She said she'd be sure to tell the owner what happened and told me not to worry. So I also sent a warning text to her daughter-in-law. We've become sort of a friend since her tasting and design appointment. I told her I'm sorry I snapped at her mother-in-law. She knows for sure that she's been caught trying to change the cake again. I apologized for any blowbacks, and she texted back that she was sorry she missed it, and joked that she might want to hire me as one of her security guards for the wedding. Mother-in-law did not call back for the rest of my shift. Seriously though, duck this week. Update number 9, 6 days later. Okay guys, this is a big one. I'm posting this with the daughter-in-law's permission, so please don't send private messages of how horrible of a person or employee I am for invading someone's privacy. She knows I'm posting, and I emailed her a copy for approval before I posted. Well, here we go. The wedding's been called off. Crazy Cake mother-in-law has only called 5 times that I know of since I called her out on her bullcrap. I answered twice and she hung up both times. My coworkers who answered the other times hung up on her as soon as they realized who she was. The bakery owner finally agreed to let us just hang up instead of feeding into her duckery. Well, after the cake tasting and design appointment, daughter-in-law and I became fast friends. We bonded over our shared love of fairy tales and the fact that we both had to deal with this crazy mother-in-law. I kept her updated on any phone calls from her mother-in-law, and she vented to me about wedding planning. A couple days ago, she came into the bakery for coffee. She seemed upset, so I talked to her over my lunch hour. She told me her future husband has been asking her to not only re-invite his mother to the wedding, but to let her become more involved in the planning. She asked my advice, and I kind of evaded the question. I didn't evade it because I didn't want to help her. I just know that I'm not the most unbiased person to ask due to my own crappy experiences with an ex and his psycho mother. Run, Forrest, run. It's the most empathetic or helpful advice to give someone blinded by love. Instead of telling her to flee like Bambi from a forest fire, I told her to try to objectively look at her future. Think about what she wanted in her relationship and the things she was willing to sacrifice or compromise to maintain her relationship. She thanked me, said she was going to think about things, then talk to her future husband, and she would keep me updated. Daughter-in-law called me just a little while ago in tears. She ended things with the future husband. She found out he was playing both sides of the coin. He was telling her that he supported whatever decision she made while telling his mother that he agreed. Daughter-in-law was being too controlling and he would try to talk her into allowing her to attend the wedding. Daughter-in-law and future husband argued, and he accused her of not understanding the importance of family to Greek women, and said he did not want to get married if his mom could not attend. When she agreed that marriage was a mistake, he tried to backtrack and say he was bluffing, but she stuck to her guns. Everything is in her name, including their house, so she's staying with her sister while he moves back with his mom. Daughter-in-law is coming in tomorrow to make a few alterations to her cake order. She said she's changing her wedding cake into a celebration of freedom. She's also inviting all her friends that she had to cut off the guest list to make room for his friend and family. She said I'm invited too. She said she's increasing the cake size to fit her bigger but more casual party, and also a low-key duck you to her mother-in-law. Since the relationship's over, I'm pretty sure I won't need any more updates. Sorry, drama llamas, but here endeth the saga. I wasn't lying when I told you that story was insane. Let's read a couple comments. Can you imagine the drama if former bride had gotten pregnant? I'm so glad she got out. I shudder to think what ex-future mother-in-law would have been doing during former bride's pregnancy, or worse, when she was giving birth. You know, she would have been right in the delivery room trying to override former bride's wishes. Comment 2 says, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. There gots to be another story of this mother-in-law. And the third comment says, I guess they just got to ignore the extra venues she's rented at least. So let me ask you, is this one of the craziest mother-in-law stories of all time on the channel? Well, I have news for you. I think it is. This was crazy, but I want to hear your opinion on it, guys, so drop your thoughts about this in the comment section. That's the only story for today. I hope you have an amazing day. Don't forget to check out the other channels in the description below, and I'll see you guys later.